Hello, everyone. Welcome to this fantastic topic that we have today. With me, I have some fantastic people. Let me start with people on my left. I see Manish. Manish, as we know, is from Yota. I can see Dr. Anuj. Anuj is from Aptech. We have Prerak. Prerak is from Somika Group. And then, of course, another dear friend of mine, Maryar, who is from Gina. Welcome, each one of you. And I'm sure that each one of us would really learn a lot from this, while the audience would learn a lot from this webinar, but each one of us would learn a lot from everybody's experience. So the topic for today is building a resilient business model. I just wanted to share and take a minute and talk about business model as such. Any organization, a large organization, a small organization, a new organization, an old organization, a startup or an established organization, each organization has something called a business model. What is a business model? Business model is just a plan, a conceptual plan for a business as to how they'll deliver value to the business, how they'll make money, how they'll actually go back to their customers, and customers would say that, yes, this is an organization on whom I can rely. That's what business model is all about. And what we have seen in last, 18 months now, since March last year, 16, 17 odd months, the way this entire pandemic has changed the world. Organizations are looking at various ways and means, not just to grow today, not just to, but also to survive. How do I really survive in this? How do I see that in this entire scenario, my business model is such that I can recover back? If I was selling something or if I was doing some actions, say back in February 2020, how sitting in July 21 can I bounce back? That is what resilience is. Resilience is the organization ability to bounce back. And this is perhaps the right time to discuss this topic, because this is time when COVID-2 is almost over, while people are talking of COVID-3, but I just hope, pray that doesn't come. And companies really bounce back to the way we were pre of March 20 levels. And that's where this topic, and we'll learn from each one of the panelists out here, whether it is Manish, Anuj, Prerak, Maryar, or as to what are those things that companies are doing? What are those out-of-box strategies that companies are employing so that they are resilient? And my aim, personal aim, would be that each one of us at the end of this webinar really takes 2, 3, 4 things out of this, so that we think that this 1 hour that all of us have spent together is really well spent. So with that, let me just start with Anuj. Anuj, you come from Aptech background, but let me ask you this way. Why do you think resilience has suddenly become the in thing, and why companies, management, board, anyone whom you talk to at any level, everybody is interested in resilience today?
Thanks, Vijay, and thanks to you and to Tech Media for inviting me here today. It's a real pleasure to be here. Of course, as you said, pandemic has upset quite a few business models. Actually, what has it really upset, if you see? It has upset the risk-adjusted returns that boards expect from their businesses. Every business expects business to grow at a particular rate by taking a certain amount of risk. Now, the perception of that risk has increased, that the risk can be manifold than what they would have otherwise perceived it as or factored into their growth plans. So once the risk parameters change, everything around the business model needs to be reevaluated. So I think that, and resilience comes in there in a big way. And that is, I think, one key reason why boards are looking at resilience in more serious fashions that they were earlier doing. But quite apart from the risk itself, the pandemic and its related mechanisms which it has put into place has also thrown up new opportunities which boards want their businesses to grab and exploit. Many times these are led by technology. So the board wants to look at those technology-enabled opportunities as well. It is my belief that whenever there is a change in technology, it is an opening for new entrants to come in and become market leaders. And this is not only true of today's internet world, it has always been true for a long time. And paradoxically, it many times has nothing to do with access to technology. I'll give you just one short example. If you go back to when we had black and white television sets, we had leaders like Uptron, Salora, Beltec, and those kind of names. Come color televisions, what has changed? Nothing else changed, except that now we have picturizations in the color mode. Suddenly we have new leaders, you have BPLs, you have Onidas, Videocons of the world, which are dominating in the Indian market. Then come to flat screen televisions. Again, now color has also remained the same, just the form factor has changed to flat screens. And suddenly you have LGs, Samsungs, and Sonys, which are dominating. A new technology coming in, quite apart from the access to technology, is a reason or an excuse or a mechanism by which new players can come in and establish themselves. So, as those who companies which are leaders want to defend their turf, and those who are not leaders want to exploit these opportunities as well. So, it's both risk and opportunities.
It's wonderful, Anuj. So it is both risk and opportunities. And the point that you said about risk-adjusted returns, I think that's a fantastic takeaway as I see. Maria, let me just come back to you and get your perspective as to why you think boards are talking about resilience today.
So, Vijay, thank you for all the panelists for having this wonderful session. When I look at the word resilience, I would like to look at it looking at how a psychologist defines resilience. And when he talks about resilience, he talks about processes of adapting well in face of diversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant resources of stress. I think one has to look at all these areas which are going to be very important for us to survive and excel. So if I look at some 6 points of resilience as a psychologist would look at it, I would say cultivate a belief in you and ability to cope that stress. Stay connected with source of support, which is very important in our day-to-day life. Talk about what you are going through and how you are going to make things better. Be helpful to others, which is one of the very fundamental points of how resilience will face the world today. Activate positive emotions. See, today stress is telling us not to look at negativity, talk about positivity, and cultivate an attitude of survivorship. I think that is very, very basic in our understanding. Today, survivorship is become a situation of a norm. If you survive, then you can excel. I think putting the definition and the skill sets of a psychologist view, I would like to come into a practical situation. I would like to say that today, when you look at resilience, how are organizations coping up to? So, being a technologist, I would like to look at it in 2 or 3 clear forms. One is your infrastructure setup, second is your application portfolios, and the third and the most primary is the security setup when you look at it. So, if you look at it, what is there in your organization? How are you placed in your organization in all these 3 areas? Is it more than enough? So 16 months old story, and I think every organization today has moved to a stage where they had looked at very, very critical points in all these 3 areas. So what is important? Today, business transformation is saying, okay, technology has to transform. What is traditionally how a technology was supporting business is now fundamentally going to say, go to a drawing board and change your processes. So there are a lot of things that we as organizations have looked at it, especially
so
running on.
We'll come back to specific examples from you very soon. But the question over here was just look at the resilience as such, and maybe we'll first let me come to examples. But let me start first with Prerak. Prerak is from a very, very diversified group. So Prerak, can you just come up with and share with us, the panelists and the entire audience, as to what could be some couple of out-of-box strategies that your group would have employed?
Thanks for Tech Media and being part of this elite group of people and discussing this very relevant topic as of now, because it's like resilience, as you said rightly, that it's become a keyword now. People are and it's always like the situation like this, which was never happened before. It has really pushed all the business to a wall, and most of the time business resilience was okay. It was more of like being IT leaders. We know we always, it's nothing new, like BCP or business continuity plan was more, it was synonymous for us. We used to do, but more or less it was on audit check or once in a quarter, or that's how it's supposed to be done. Now, when we are into this pandemic, when it started, we are a diversified group. We are into mining, we are into fruit, juices and FMCG, we're into EPC project. So it's really, it took time for us, and we have a lot of resources, up and down, traveling across the globe. And we had really a challenging time. Initially it took really a time, 3 to 4 months, actually, to be very honest, to analyze and see the impact of how things can be at least continue. We were not even thinking of any innovations or anything. First was like how we can at least survive and continue what we are doing. And then there are 2 or 3 critical scenarios came up. Like we had a project running of plant operation. Now there was a plant was supposed to be commissioning. Now we had equipment coming in, lying in Congo, and then the engineers who were supposed to travel for commissioning, they are stuck in their respective countries. They could not travel, and now we waited for a month, 2 months, 3 months. Eventually, we say, okay, now what? We cannot, because there was no visibility. Now, nobody would have thought, at least in my group or any other organization would have thought of that a plant commissioning can be done remotely. Okay, so we had a 2-week session, video conferencing session, set up into a conference room for like starting from the lowest electrician or technician person till the plant head, who was okay. Limited resources were available on ground, but everybody was put into a conference room, going through a replica of installation of a plant machinery, and then it was done into a respective site. Even that installation team were not at one site, so they had to also come up with a scenario, creating a model of installation. And happy to share that after 2 weeks in a stimulation program, we were able to commission a project which is, as of now, we can say proudly that one of the best installation, which I'm sure nobody would thought of, doing a plant commissioning without OEMs or without any technical expertise on ground. Yes, we had technical expert from our team members, but they never installed, never used those equipment. So that it gives us like a pride. Yes, that technology through we use CCTV, put a PTZ cameras onto equipment. We had a WhatsApp call going on, we had a Zoom call going on parallelly, and being in Africa market, connectivity is another challenge. So we had like multiple backup, single point of failure had to be removed. And then we now, it's like a business is taking a challenge that why we need to travel, why we need the engineers to come in, why can't we do remote installation? So we have taken that in IT. We have a fleet management solution. We are taking, so why we don't need let's take it remotely, and we are currently doing, which is like $500,000 project, but we are doing it remotely. And yesterday only we completed that installation of sensors into a big fleet of mining fleets and automation. IoT sensors been installed and completely remotely. So I again coming back, like the tough situation bring us back to where we can diversify, utilize technology. And again, we also, as a business, we also started diversifying, and also
Correct.
we also explore how we can modularize, so that any single point should not stop a business. So I think that is where we are still learning. It's still going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as I hear from you, I am reminded of what Mariar said from a psychologist perspective, that in the face of trauma, how do you survive and excel? So what you guys have shown, that in this phase of trauma called COVID, how could you really not just install the plant remotely, but really make it one of the best and excel it? So I tend to link between both what you have said and what Mariar has said. Okay, let me move to Manish. So Manish, let me come back to you and get a couple of examples, because you are again one of those organizations who would have provided the backbone to the entire world, entire country today during this pandemic. So any couple of strategies that you would have employed, would you like to share with us?
Yes, sure. Thank you very much. So predominantly we are into data center, which itself is meant for resilient availability of the digital server systems for any organization. So we were about to launch, and the pandemic happened, and we completed the building. And as you know, that we have commercially launched in July last year when the pandemic was on peak. So what when people were trying to send work to worker, we are looking for worker to go on the job at site. So we thought of creating completion more faster than anybody else, because there was a always the last bit of work is very important to close the things properly. So we want to create a resilient building of the world. So we are Asia's largest tier 4 certified building, which is certified to give you 99.999% availability of your systems at any given point of time. So to make that kind of large infrastructure, we have, as Prerak and Maria and Anu said, that we have implemented all the strategies available across the globe, be it as a remote installation by our own staff, implementation and testing by our team, remotely done the surveillance and so on and so forth. The whole thing is that when you have difficult time, you will implement all is available with you, with your partners, with your ecosystem, what you do. So wherever the OEMs were present, we have tried to brought them. Wherever they are available on remote, we have tried to bring them to complete our project so that we can go live. And the best part is that during this, we found that a lot of companies who were trying to be resilient in this, we also brought more than 100 customers online in our data center. So it has
So you
so
got
many.
business also.
Yes. So we make the business resilient by making a resilient building, which is data center for our customer and our business.
Yeah, I think especially for some of the IT companies, it was also a period where a lot of companies' business increased a lot. So let me just go back to what Prerak said, and Mehrar, I would like you to comment on this. So Prerak used a word, BCP, Business Continuity Plan. All of us have been talking of BCP since ages. I remember maybe 20 years back, all of us were talking about BCP. Today we are in digital age, an age of AIs of this world and blockchains of this world and all sorts of technologies that you can imagine. So in this world, and then you have this unseen thing called COVID, which we don't actually, no one has seen it. We just seen some photographs of that, which has really changed the entire world and made us think about resilience, BCP in a very different way, which we had never thought about. So my question to you, Mehrar, would be that based on your experience, can you share as to what role can technology really play in today's time to, from a BCP perspective, from a resilience or a continuity, business continuity perspective?
So Vijay, just to set the context right, in today's age, BCP has become a norm for the way we work today. So
Correct.
directly, indirectly, whatever way we talk about, BCP is tested for every organization. So BCP is not related only to your technology setup, but also related to your people, from where you work, how you
So my
work, and
question, what role can technology play in this entire thing?
Yeah. So coming back to the question that you are asking is absolutely technology is going to be upfront in talking about how you deploy this BCP. So when we talk about BCP, what are the must-haves of the BCP? What are the most available systems, uptimes available to your system, and how secure is the way of working? So if you look at these standards into adopting, your partner relations come into picture. When you're talking about cloud setups, as an organization, you need to be cloud setup. So all your infrastructure, your applications, backup recovery, security is taken care on that setup. So there is minimum amount of people of IT from your side. You're talking about applications availability. You have various means of mobility standards. You have various means of application available on your browser platforms. Those are things that has to be available on a click of a button. So there are these different standards which you can implement it. And lastly, when you say that you're operating from home, your security has to be right up front. And today we're talking about security, which is going up very, very big rate. So if I'm talking about digital strategies, you are talking about having BCP setups where we have implemented a lot of new solutions. When I'm talking about new solutions, I would say, how can we operate on a paperless scenario? No printing allowed. All submissions have to be on an e-docket and availability on a normal format of being available as a document on a platform. So that is something which has become a must-have. And if you look at 16 months old, everybody was asking papers in customs and everything. Today we have a lot of these things implemented, and government themselves have taken a lot of initiatives, especially in a logistics and supply chain area, where they are saying that look at digitization, adopt digitization. So those are some of the things that we have worked on, and which is really standing out at this moment of time. Then logistics today, and we have not slept over the last 16 months. It's a backbone of your operations today. If you look at logistics on your express, on your sea freight, air freight, this is going to be really up and running for the country to see that everything moves at the right time, at the right place, and it is available to all of us.
Wonderful. And using the right technology. Manish, would you like to add from BCP perspective?
Absolutely. I echo with Mariel what he said. See, being a new company, it is very easy to call yourself native digital. So everything is paperless. So we have that blessing because we were starting up. But today, when you think about an existing company who's running a fleet of people, multiple showrooms and shop, the whole thing is dependent on how his workflows are scheduled, whether you have it in premise or on cloud. So when we started our career 30 years ago, it was everybody talks about disaster recovery. Then it came as a business continuity planning, the BCP. Now today, when you talk about what is BCP, it is yes, it should be all time available. So the whole fundamental thing is that why we went for tier 4 kind of infrastructure in India, which is very costly to build, is that we want our customer to have a peace of mind if they are hosted with us. At least they are sure that 99.999% the server will run, their website is on. So even if you today you see, as Maria said, that a company like DMart is also dependent 40% on their website for online booking. People can come and pick up the order, but where they can log in their order is the same thing. So any business which is running today, the email itself is a legal and legitimate document. You want to send a mail, you have to have that mail server running. So the whole idea of the moving from a DR to BCP to cloud is basically the availability. So in cloud, you have that agility and resiliency that you can flexibly spread out your workload to multiple cloud. And that is where the organization are deciding what they do. We have chosen, kept our own cloud live so that our customer can use that for a flexible, scalable and available environment. And but we are also adapting to the other public cloud to make our environment hybrid. So the minimal is impacted when we are, talking about the business continuity per se.
Correct. Let me move on to our friend Anuj. So Anuj, we heard that there are a lot of companies. We heard Manish saying that he got 100 odd customers on cloud, and the huge business that increased, which is rightly so because people wanted to move to cloud. So from your perspective, I just wanted to know that we know the entire industry, and of course you can give examples of AppTech also, but even otherwise from your experience. So we know that COVID has really impacted businesses, some positively, but most of them negatively. But there are a lot of organizations who during this entire COVID period, right from March 20 till date, they have taken a lot of innovative strategies, steps, actions to win customers, to gain new clients. So can you share some of them from an AppTech perspective or any other that you would like to share?
Yeah, sure, Vijay. See, let me take 30 seconds to explain what we do. Essentially, AppTech, through its various business lines, trains people with skills or on skills which directly enable to get them a job, generally their first job, or a better job. That's essentially in one liner what we do. And frequently, these skills are such that they need use of technology, like animation, visual effects, computer graphics, and gaming, and such like. So that's essentially the business line that we are in. Now, as pandemic hit, there's a new buzzword sort of thing. A lot of people came into the forefront and said that, okay, now this is an age of edtech. Firstly, it is my opinion that edtech by itself is not new. Yeah, edtech as a business has been in existing for the last 15 years, ever since Coursera's and Udemy's of the world have existed. And to my mind, the ed part of the edtech is far more important than the tech part of edtech. See, the effectiveness of learning, which is important for us, rather than which technology is used in the area of learning. And delivery of education, whether it is video-based learning or remote learning or classroom training, is to be adapted for what type of skills is being taught and how much. And tech is used practically everywhere, in every area. Not only in the delivery, people are exposed to only the delivery part of education. I'll give you one example from Aptech itself, and this we use in our brands for Arena and Mac, where we teach kids animation and visual effects. We used to have earlier, long time back, we used to have physical books. Then a few years back, we went into PDF digital versions of the same books. Those went off because we realized they are still two-dimensional versions, whereas what we are trying to equip kids with is to look at their creativity in a three-dimensional world when you're looking at animation or visual effects. So about 3 or 4 years back, we discarded all our PDF books and went into all our books with augmented reality. So much before the pandemic, all our books were still were enabled with augmented reality. So the students no longer had physical books; they had learning tools or learning mechanisms through using augmented reality, because that was more considered more suitable pedagogy for the type of skill that we were trying to deliver. So this is one of the kind of things we could do. Second most important, I think, is when you look, people talk about lifetime value of a customer, which essentially is trying to say how much money can I get from this customer before he dies. So in a crude language, that's what it says. But we are faced with kids who are generally in the age of 16 to, let's say, 24 year age bracket, who are at the age that they come to us are the highly trainable people. So we define lifetime value of the customer by how much value which we can give them now or during the training period, which will last them through their lives. We have twisted lifetime value of the customer on its head. And because we believe that no matter what technologies we teach them, what skills we teach them, they're going to be obsolete in 3 to 5 years' time. So what are the skills that we need to teach them which will outlast their first job and their second job? And those we have encapsulated into various pedagogical methods. For example, teamwork skills. For example, communication skills. For example, resilience itself. Pandemic was a key example where people were faced with adversity. This is not the last adverse situation in the professional front that they will face. How do they come out of it? So we have training methods built into our pedagogy now, which enables people to learn these skills while they are at the most absorbent phase of their life. And in the pandemic world, we have added one more, which is work from home skills. This is easier said than done. When you start thinking about it, and a lot of people have said that a lot of aspects of work from home are here to stay, particularly in the tech world. If that be the case, does it not stand to reason that educationists like us or trainers like us have it within their charter to train people how to work from home? And what are the key skills required to be able to deliver the same effectiveness that you would do in an office environment while working from home? Today, we have built in all these things into our pedagogy.
Fantastic, Anuj, and the way you said that you really kind of put the entire thing, lifetime value of a customer, on its head, turned it. I think that was really fantastic, and coming to AR-based books and others, really nice. So let me come to Prerak. Prerak, from your perspective, would you like to share a couple of strategies that your organization, in any part, and you're a diverse organization, to offset the impact of COVID-19 and win more customers? Anything that you'd like to share?
Again, so it's again a tough time. So, another major thing, what I said of like, we need to rethink the procedures and policies. Now, for example, we had a segregation of duty. Now, suddenly, when you have only one team member out of 5 available on the job to do job, and then if you have a segregation of duty, so how you do that? And again, the skills of the individual. So, what we have to drive actually massive program for reskilling and multi-skilling people, so that sometime when the other person or the person not available on ground, at least the business continuity starts. So that is a massive drive taken by the HR and the team, where we will be reskilling or multi-skilling people, so that business continuity works. Because we have initially we put up segregation of duty, people cannot enter data in the ERP, all those things, but now we have to open up. Same time, another thing which also it was like sometime situation can give us a lot of opens the doors. Now, what has happened that prior to this, we thought of like, organization wanted employee to be on ground working from a particular site and delivering from there. Now, what has happened because of the pandemic, now things have opened up. Office is actually a global office. So now the skill set available globally can be utilized. So rather than somebody who can be on site, we started opening up that skills wherever they are, we can leverage their skills. So not only be into the office, they now we have remote workers who can work from China, you can work from India, you can work from Dubai, wherever they are. So that was never thought of earlier. Yes, we had some of the people who travel and work, but never an employee from the respective countries and using their skill set. Also, we another asset we have taken was more of a decentralizing decision making, because of a lot of small core committees were made for the site, empowering them to take decision on time, because limited leadership was available on ground. So that is another thing we say, decentralizing of decision making, which will help to more agile working process. So that is something we also adopt, and now adopting across the group, which helping us moving forward.
I think one of the wonderful points that you said about survival, about growth, especially in tough times, the times what Anuj said rightly, that maybe over a period of time these guys would see many more such tough situations. So one of the points, Prerak, that you talk about is agility. And whether it is multi-skilling, as you said, and Anuj also talked about it, or changing the entire delegation of power and others, to make the organization really agile, especially in these tough times. That's where could be a major differentiating factor for those companies which succeed or grow beyond, or those who really falter. So wonderful. So let me move on to Mehryar. Mehryar, from a Jina Group perspective, as COVID impacted nearly everyone, so what were those strategies that your group really employed during this particular period? And if you can just share with us one or two such strategies to offset the impact of COVID-19.
Yeah, so I'll just give you two clear examples that will set the answer to this question. One is the board level representation of technology. Is that when today we have transformation coming right from the top, how are you going to act as in a technology deployment, implementation? What are the do's and don'ts you need to really work on? What are the changes that you need to apply? Though that business processes which are getting transformed are quickly enabled with technology. So that is, I think, one of the fundamental parts that we work on. And when you talk about board level, you're talking about sanctioning of monetary value to projects. And that is something at a board level, you as a CIO has to see that those flow of money is available to you in these difficult times. Because if you have a value associated with those implementation, then surely there is a success to those parts. The second part which I'm talking about is something when we talk about the operational situation. Implementation has to be agile and quick, and it has to be dependent on a situation that there are minimum failures. Now, when you talk about this type of a situation, your partner relationships comes into picture. And when you talk about partner relationships, you come at all various stages where you're going to be a successful of a situation. So I don't have a clear example of looking at this scenario, but we as Jina, whenever we talk about any of our projects, we talk about seeing deployment time implementation time frame of how quickly can we deploy it and how business can start getting their value out of those projects. So that is number one. Number two that we have talked about is operationally we have seen that people are our great assets. We have started taking care as an HR initiative, as a technology initiative, as a management initiative, that's saying that these people continue supporting us and they are well taken care of. I think that is a fundamental point of our working. That's it, Vijay.
That's fantastic. So everyone has been talking of resilience. We understand the importance of resilience. We understand as to why right up to the board people are talking about resilience, and why each one of us at whatever level we are really wanting to ensure that our companies are resilient. But let me just come back to you, Anuj. From your perspective, you can just share that. Is it so easy as it is said? Is it that you just switch on the resilience and you become a resilient company? Or there are potential issues, challenges that each one of us has to overcome to become more resilient?
Yeah, Vijay, that's a very, very important question. And let me stick my neck out sitting in the middle of a forum which has all technologists all around me. Let me strike a discordant note here. I think there is danger in over exuberance with technology. Well, let me explain what I mean. I think sometimes there is today no industry which is not technology enabled. So there's nothing like a tech company and a non-tech company today. Every company has compulsorily or mandatorily uses technology in various areas of its working. So there's no tech company, there's no tech company. Having said this, we have to focus on the core value that you're generating for the customer. And what is the core resultant business problem that you're trying to solve using those tech solutions, whichever ones are appropriate. So my experience shows that very often, or sometimes at least, some companies or some people within companies start throwing the latest sexy technology which they have learned at every problem. See, the wowness of a technology, no matter how good it is, has a very short shelf life. The half-life of technology is very short. I was talking to my son the other day, and we were seeing a video of a helicopter on Mars beaming down pictures onto the NASA website. And the comment what it was there, it's still pixelated, no? Hello, he's sending pictures from Mars through a helicopter which is on Mars. Have a heart, man. And why even go far? Whenever we're traveling international before the pandemic and you're accessing net on the intergalactic, on the cross Atlantic flights, you're punching things, you're calling the stewardess and saying that my net is not working. You're sitting on a seat 30,000 feet in the mid on air. And all you can think of is that your internet is not fast enough. So people get used to technology very fast. That's a point. Customers will get used to technology very fast. So any dependence that you need to bring into your customer value has to factor in a customer which is used to that. So is it still solving his value proposition? And if we are keeping the customer at the focus of the technology, I think we'll not go wrong. But that's a danger we all face at different points of time.
I like the way you said that you're sitting in the middle of technologies. But the point that you said, I think, is a very valid point. Number one, all companies today are technology companies. No company on earth can really survive without technology. But this danger of too much exuberance, the word that you use on technology, is actually a real danger. Only thing which I wouldn't agree with you in this, where you said that many of these guys have learned few words and then they actually come and put those. I'll say they haven't even learned, they have just heard. You scratch the surface, they won't even know the details of those.
No, I would not say that, but yeah, you said it, I did.
So that's the only point on which I won't agree. Rest everything I agree. So let me move to, I can really see Manish kind of having a hearty laugh out here. So Manish comes from a technology company background. So Manish, let me ask you as to what could be the potential challenges of building resilience and how to overcome.
See, it's resiliency is more of a culture now. Like in the remote working kind of platform or in the cloud kind of platform, security is very much required to control and manage your data, where it is going, what are the accessibility and all. Similarly, to run your technology, to run your organization, you need to be resilient, right? Whether it is running through multiple sites, as what Prarik said, that they are operating from various places, so they have to decentralize the decision making, right? That is a real framework or what you adopt according to your organization. But whereas on a technology side, what Anuj said is absolutely right, that people are getting impatient today to have the similar speed or a better speed at every given point in time. So experience makes all the difference, because you have multiple choice to everything. Be it as a e-commerce, you have multiple site you can buy the same thing. Be it as a food item, you can have multiple delivery companies you can provide you food. So where you think your business is looking out to deliver the value to the customer, you have to make it resilient, you have to make it available, is what every company thought. And around that, people like me, Mariar and Prerak and all, we create the technology framework, that how my application should behave, how people will access, and how I can boost the speed, though they're working on a 2G or a smaller dongle or a very slow network, and so on and so forth. So the more you adopt the technology, you have to be more resilient or available or disaster ready or whatever name and frame you can say. And it's absolutely to design and build that culture in your system, that I'm coming from a telco background. For 10 years, 15 years, I've worked with all telcos. So the idea of when these website based billing payment came in, the payment gateways came in, everybody wants to make sure that you can pay by any bank you are using, right? And that's where the government came with the UPI framework. The whole thing is that whatever bank you are running, you don't have to wait for a larger payment gateway system. You can just use a UPI kind of thing, which is very easily and resiliently available across multiple sites. So it's a all your DNA or your business DNA or type of work you are doing, the technocrats which are there to support that organization, they start thinking and planning and deploying the entire system in such a way. So in pandemic time, we also launched product with the help of Anuj's team to test the graphic workstation on cloud, virtual desktop on cloud, because that's a need of our, because your designer cannot come to office. So can we send the high-end graphic workstation to him? Yes. So we tested with Aptech team help, and we got it certified, and we started as a product, right? So it is all the way it actually keep imbibing, and it is a journey. Resiliency is a journey where you have to do the drills. You have to make sure that it's tested and proven, so that your customer can always get the value out of it.
Yeah, it's a journey. And also another point that you spoke about, perhaps you didn't use that word, but you meant it, was also a huge amount of collaboration that goes into in this journey. So it's not just any organization can do on its own. So whether you collaborate with Aptech or any other organization, so I think that's what it is all about. So let me come back to Prerak. Prerak, from a global challenges perspective, would you like to add anything to what Anuj has said or what Manish has said?
Yes, as we said, resilience is again one of the buzzwords. Now people will start saying, "Oh, we need to be resilient." Now it's a fundamentally changing a mindset. It's not like something new tool or new idea which will make a business, resilient. Resiliency is not a short term thing. It's a big thing. It's a long term. When you are embracing the model where it is you are ready for complexity, uncertainty, adaptability of the changes what is coming through. And as a human beings, we are all we have fear from change. So that's what we need to fight with. And being a digital leader or IT leader, CIOs, I think I'll just refer to Gartner's one of the point where they said, okay, how CIOs or again, we also recently we all talk about CIOs be part of the board, in the boardroom, CIOs should be part of the board member, or things like that. So now that is where collaboration comes again, where how digitally or IT, rather than using too many jargons as we discussed in the panel, like how we can collaborate more with the business leaders, understand the business model, what is there, identify the uncertainty, what is coming in, impact of those uncertainty, and design those changes, and then eventually go to the board and say, yeah, what, these are the changes or expect, these are the things we can execute. And it won't happen overnight. Yeah, it's a big change for organization. So it's an ongoing process which need to come upon and keep changing things, so that certain new things will come up, and that is where the business model has to work upon, where any changes or any uncertainty comes in when we are ready for it, or at least we are agile enough to take those changes into a perspective.
Fantastic. So Mariar, you also spoke about this word of culture and security, and Prerak also spoke about mindset. So maybe you want to elaborate to us as to, from a mindset culture perspective, what could be the potential challenges or the problems that one could be facing from building resilience perspective?
So I would like to say that we as technologists today also have to talk and think like business first, then talk about what is required for technology. It cannot work the other way around. I think that is your basics. And whenever you talk about implementations, we are talking about building the basics, the must-haves, and the most required. Then you talk about peripherals, digitization, AI, ML, VR, all those things. So I think a lot of organizations today are also going through this curve and looking at this impact. They are also doing these transformational changes. So my advice to the community is to look at think like what is your business requirement first. Then you look at solutions which are going to be your must-haves, and those needs to be which is implemented in the right frame of mind or right stages of your requirement. I think that is going to resolve a lot of your points. And that mindset, I think everybody needs to go ahead and adopt.
Yeah, I think the key point here is that if you're keeping business as the focus, as Mariar was saying, what does it really imply? We talked about resilience, but let me draw an analogy between resilience and buying insurance. In some way, whatever change in processes or investments that you're going to do, you're really preparing yourself from an adverse situation, a possible adverse situation in the future. Now, the hope is that the adverse situation will never happen, and therefore that expense is likely to remain unutilized. But nevertheless, it's an expense that you need to make today because you need to insure yourself against possible adversities. But there is something like overbuying of insurance. In a similar analogy, there is something like over-engineering your product, which will take away from agility of flexibility that your business needs to have to be able to respond to a market situation. I mean, this balance, I think, is key. It's in a pandemic mind frame, it's very easy to over-engineer. It's very easy to over restrict. If, for example, if a business is designed to deal with a pandemic, every new pandemic every year, that business today cannot compete. So, you'll say, I should be in this business, maybe another virus is going to come, so I should think of something else, you'll never do anything. So finding the right thing, the right blend is very important. And to be able to structure your organization, both culture-wise and organizational diagram-wise, to be able to respond to the opportunities and the disruptors in your industry, I think that, to my mind, is the key.
Fantastic. So Manish, let me come to you. So we heard a term that partnership. I think Mariar, if I remember, spoke about partnership, partner relationships. Now you are a partner, an IT technology partner to so many organizations. So what role, according to you, the partners like yours, organizations can play for the companies, for your customers, for your clients in building resilience? How can you guys help?
So as you rightly said, the word partner. So we are not a vendor anymore, and we are actually partner to all our customers to make sure that whatever they are planning, whether they are coming to host their production with us, their disaster recovery site with us, their additional replication with us, or any such thing which is adopting our cloud or product or anything, we make sure that we understand their need, and basis on that we create a solution which is not only helpful for their business but also helpful to adopt in their system. So as the continuity or resiliency or any such longer project in any company need a more of a cultural or a socialization status, whether the acceptability to that project is required. Similarly, like work from home. Earlier, it was difficult to think about that 90% of your people are working from home. But now the people started working. It is very easy to let them understand that. So we make sure that what are these support system, what are the supporting work they are doing. So let us talk about one of our customer who's running his site from us, from our place, and his people are not able to reach their office. So we have also created a business continuity workspace for our customer who are hosted with us. So they can send their critical people to our data center to do the day-to-day job. So it is not only you can move your systems or run your disaster recovery time or resiliency time, you can run your operation of equipment from our side. We can also provide you a workspace for your people. So these are a couple of things. Yeah, for resiliency, we have created this model because none of the data center is being provided this as a service, but we have provided the workspace as a service, just to make sure that you and we extend that office and connect to your system in such a way that they come to our office and attendance is recorded with you. And similarly, all sort of process and policies, what you adhere to, we will implement the same. So
Fantastic.
similarly, when it comes to the product, also we deliver some ready-made product like virtual desktop and all. We integrate with your system so that they are using a virtual desktop, but it is as good as what they are using in office on their desk. So it is just instead of going to office, sitting on a desk, you log in password and you have your desktop ready. So it is more partnership with our customer based on their requirement, their culture, their processes. We want to align our deliveries accordingly to help them.
So you said maybe 16 months back, it was difficult to imagine that 90%, 95% of your workforce is sitting at home and working. Maybe today it is really difficult to imagine how could 90-95% people be sitting in office and working. When you're so 16 months used to work from home, it really you can't imagine that everybody is going to office early.
Yeah, being service provider, everybody has a challenge when the pandemic started, that everybody wants to send work to worker. And for me to complete the building, I want a worker to work. So we have done both the job. So I can understand the pain from both the sides actually.
Wonderful. I can see that we are really running out of time. We got a couple of minutes more left. So let me just have a quick 30 seconds from each one of you. One or two, just Chris, one or two advices that you would like to give to the CXOs or to the audience from a resilience perspective, which can really help those organizations. Prerak, you have two pieces of advice.
Yeah, I would say again, closing the resilience gaps, understanding, establishing the process and protocols, and investing in human capital, because that's the key thing. I'll just use one of the quote that you can't design resilience in a lab. Resilience is always those quality that forged by fire. So you can only know when it is actually been tested. So human capital will be something which you have to rely on, and reskilling, communicating, and those things which will have. So that's a way to go.
Wonderful. Maria, would you like to add?
Yeah, so I would say the three mantras of the success, the three S's that I would say: be sharp, be sure, and acknowledge your success, celebrate your success. I think that's
wonderful. Wonderful. We'll surely celebrate the success also. Manish, your views?
So it is just your people, process, and technology make it resilient. by not only setting up your business continuity plan, but get vaccinated your team so that they are also resilient.
So you celebrate and you do people, process, technology, and of course, it's not built in lab. So Anuj, let me come to you.
Yeah, I think in every adversity there is an opportunity.
Yeah.
I think there are so many business opportunities that the pandemic has thrown up, and the right people have looked at those as opportunities. Never forget that every adversity brings with it a set of opportunities, set of redefinitions, set of new ways to look at it. Some of them we have talked about during the course of this seminar. Look at all those things. Keep your organization built in a way which is able to utilize those opportunities as and when they arise.
That's very nice. So Anu, you started with opportunity, you are ending with opportunity. So that's really starting on a very positive note that we know pandemic is there, maybe on its last leg, but it was also a great opportunity. It still is a great opportunity. And of course, resilience in this times plays a huge role. So for the audience, we started with the business model, and we said that any organization, every organization has a business model. COVID did really impact many of the business models. A lot of businesses were impacted, but it was those organizations which really came up with some brilliant things and bounced back. Some bounced back just after the first unlocking, sometime May, June last year. Some took their own time, but I think it was the resilience of the organization. And as Prerak had put in, that resilience is not really put in a lab or built in a lab, but when the rubber hits the ground, only then you know that whether you're resilient or not. And way it was put, that technology plays a huge role. People, process, technology, human capital, everything really plays a huge role. And you need to also focus on culture. You need to focus on the mindset of the organizations. And while you're doing all this, it's not that you are alone. So you need to be very collaborative. You have to work with partners. They can really bring in a huge amount of help, support to you to become much more resilient. And I just hope that each organization really bounces back out of this COVID in a way that it had never thought of. I thank each of my fellow panelists. I think it was a wonderful insights that each one of you gave. As really, I learned a lot, and I'm sure that our audience would have learned a lot. Thank you, each one of you, and I wish, hope, pray that everyone remains safe.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.